Today, as workers across the world celebrate May Day, International Workers' Day, I'm honored for my office to release our latest report aimed at supporting and uplifting some of our most vulnerable workers here in New York State, our gig workers. The report, Disrupting the Exploitation Economy, highlights the ways in which large corporations deny basic employment protections to their workforce by exploiting loopholes in current city, state, and federal policies. While the gig economy has the potential to provide workers with great opportunities for new models of flexibility and independence, it has also provided large corporations with the opportunity to take advantage of working people by denying them rights and protections that all workers demand and deserve. The gig economy cannot be allowed to operate as an exploitation economy. It should be a space for workers to be empowered, not for bad actors to capitalize on predatory capitalism. On May Day, as we celebrate the victories of the worker justice movement, this report makes clear there is more to do to ensure those victories reach all workers across industry or category. Workers classified commonly as independent contractors, a growing number of New Yorkers, are not afforded many of the basic employment protections and benefits that other employees are able to access. Too often they don't have sick leave, paid time off, parental leave, health insurance, and more of the benefits we all need simply to survive. Many gig workers are being exploited by companies currently misclassifying their workers, often deliberately classifying their workers as independent contractors despite functionally serving as employees. Companies do this simply to save money, and it hurts gig workers and the state economy as a whole. This cost-cutting tactic denies workers the wages and benefits they deserve and allows companies to avoid costs and dodge taxes. We can fix this, but Albany needs to pass legislation narrowly defining independent contractors and then aggressively enforcing the legislation. We must ensure that labor protections, which have been won in recent years and decades, are extended to gig workers in the new economy. And also that employees are not deliberately misclassified just so corporations can save money. The report has a series of recommendations at the local, state, and federal level to protect workers and to stop misclassification. On the city level, we can do much more to enforce and make sure that people get what they deserve, including paid sick leave. We want to make sure independent contractors know their rights, make sure we're protecting delivery workers, support for taxi drivers, app-based drivers. We can also make sure ID.nyc is back up and running so workers can have the licensure that they need. New York City has an opportunity to be the best city in the nation for gig workers, and these recommendations could do that. Policies that would provide paid sick and family leave, ensure full and timely benefits, ensure necessary equipment, and expand bike lanes will have real and lasting impacts on New Yorkers that are often struggling to pay their bills. New Yorkers are significantly more likely, the workers that I'm talking about, the gig workers, are significantly more likely to be immigrants and people of more color. An estimated 850,000 workers in New York State are low-wage independent contractors. Only 150,000 of them are app-based independent contractors. While immigrants make up 23% of the state's population, they constitute 43% of independent contractors in low-paying industries. Many of these contractors are also women, giving a race and gender lens. At the state level, the report recommends doing many things to stop the misclassification of these workers, including proper classifying them, rejecting bad deals for workers, establishing a portable benefits program so the benefits can travel with the worker, cracking down on wage theft, passing the Nail Salon Accountability Act, improving unemployment and labor licensure, supporting undocumented workers. When corporations misclassify their workers, the state loses out on critical tax revenue. We're losing out on billions of dollars, just like California was, and permits a status quo reliant on exploitation, and manipulation. The state must establish and codify narrow, specific standards for independent contractors that aggressively enforce those new standards. Federally, the report calls on Congress to pass the PRO Act, as well as permanently extend unemployment eligibility to independent contractors, improve protections for immigrant workers, and expedite access to citizenship. As we work to mark this May Day, let it also be a call to action. We must support and uplift our independent contractors, and we can start by looking fully at this report. Next up, we're going to have Comptroller Brad Lander, followed by a leader in the gig worker movement, Gustavo.
First, yeah. And thanks to the controller and Umani and a lot of more elected officials that are supporting us as a gig workers, because for many years these companies they exploiting us because they hire us like a independent contractors. So that's the way they make a lot of money in our backs. But now we're fighting against them. So thanks to our controller, Brad Lander, and Umani, and many more elected officials for fighting for us, for working class people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you to our public advocate for bringing us together on International Workers' Day to push our city and our state forward on fundamental workers' rights. I'm New York City Controller Brad Lander, and I'm proud to have organized together with a whole lot of gig workers to move New York City forward in some really important ways. New York City became the first city in the country to require Uber and Lyft to pay living wage, more than $15 wage, to its drivers. And actually that legislation is one of the few bits of legislation around minimum wage that includes a cost of living adjustment. And so earlier this year, Uber and Lyft drivers actually got an adjustment up to account for the rising cost of gas and the rising cost of living. And then together with Los Deliveristas Unidos, we passed that law for delivery workers as well, so that effective January 1st, 2020, what year is it? 2023, our delivery riders will also have their wages increased to keep pace with the minimum wage. And I was also proud to work with the Freelancers Union to have New York City become the first city in the country, now actually Minnesota became the first state in the country following us, to pass what's called the Freelancers and Free Act to protect freelancers properly classified from wage theft, because we saw that freelancers like graphic designers and writers and journalists, 70% of them had been stiffed by the companies who hired them out of wages on an average of $7,000, which obviously to a big publishing company or a big design firm is nothing, but to a freelancer is several months' rent. You can't afford to wait 6 months, a year, forever for the wages you're cheated out of. So step by step, we've started to do some things, but as the public advocate rightly says, there is a long way to go. I tried to get legislation passed during my time in the city council that would just provide paid safe and sick leave for all gig workers regardless of classification. We don't have to fix the classification problem to say that every delivery worker, every Uber or Lyft driver, every nail salon technician, every day laborer earns safe and sick leave just like W-2 workers do. New York City could pass that law today. It could go into implementation tomorrow. And as the public advocate said, there's a lot more New York City could do. But I do want to be clear, real progress here has to happen at the state level. New York State was on the cusp a couple of years ago of passing legislation to properly classify the broad set of misclassified workers, including Uber and Lyft drivers and nail salon techs and day laborers, as employees entitled to overtime, entitled to protections against wage theft, entitled to benefits if their company provides benefits, entitled to unemployment, entitled to workers' comp. And all we need to make that happen is leadership at the state level from the governor and the legislature with the courage to support, properly classify all workers. And that is the agenda that the public advocate is setting forward today. And I am proud to stand with him and Gustavo and other gig workers, because again, you know, our economy keeps evolving. New York City's economy keeps evolving. We want it to be a place where people come and create and where companies can do new and creative things, but it cannot come on the backs of the workers. We're not going to let it happen. That's the New York City we're going to build on International Workers' Day and every other day. Thank you, public advocate.
So we have an opportunity that I hope we don't get again, because we lost a lot of New Yorkers, tens of thousands of New Yorkers. And the one thing we can do in their honor is not go back to the way things were. We saw a lot of these app-based companies, a lot of companies come out, start making a lot of money. The reason they were doing that is because they weren't paying their employees what they should be getting paid. And I call them employees because that's what many of them were. Some of them, when you look at nail salon workers, to the T is actually an employee being exploited time and time again. And whenever, unfortunately, you have the intersection of communities of more color, gender, immigration status, you see communities that are being exploited time and time again. And what we're saying is we want companies to make money, but you can't make all the money on the backs of the people who are working to actually get you there. And whether it's city, state, or federal level, what we found out through this pandemic is what many of us already knew: the workers are essential. They're the ones that keep us going. So let's not misclassify them on purpose just so you don't have to pay them what they deserve and give them the benefits that they deserve, so they can be working for their families, to feed their families, so they don't have to make a decision whether they can take care of their family that day or go to work or come to work sick to make other folks sick while they're working. You know, I've been open about what my wife and I have been going through, which is, I appreciate folks for their prayers, but I can't imagine if we had a job that we had to decide whether we would take off and take care of our medical issues and not get paid. That's a horrific decision to have to make, and no one should have to make it, especially when those companies are making insane amounts of money. So thank you for coming out, everyone, and we're happy to answer any questions that folks.